Be sure to subscribe, turn those notification bells on so you don't miss when I return. And with that, I'll see you with my PhD. In today's video, I have a PhD. What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the video. My name is Tyler, also known as the Fit Chemist, now the Fit Chemist Ph.D., and I help young men take control of their lives by taking control of their fitness, nutrition, and lifestyle habits so that ultimately we can lead healthier and happier lives. So if you're new here, welcome. Please consider subscribing and turning those notification bells on so you don't miss when I post new videos. And if you are returning, welcome back. I'm so glad that you are here. As many of you know, I was taking a YouTube hiatus so that way I could finish up graduate school and defend my thesis. And well, if you're watching this video, that means that that break is finally over. I am so excited to be filming again. When I was setting up the studio, my bedroom here is just, it's so invigorating and refreshing to be working on your passion, and I'm so happy to be back in front of the camera. I successfully defended my thesis on May 4th, so I wanted to give you guys a little inside look. So here is a little bit of what that looked like.
So that we can go ahead and get started. But the title of my talk is Studies for the Synthesis of Complex Natural Products and Derivatives. So before we get into an outline, I figured we can go ahead and deconstruct that title because some people might not know what a meritocracy is. So this term was first coined by Cornforth back in 1968. And if you notice, it has the Greek prefix mero, which means partial or part of. So the word meroturbinoid means part turbinoid, as we can see from the definition. It is a natural product containing a mixed biogenesis with terpenes. Now you might be wondering, okay, what is a terpenoid or what is a terpene? Well, in nature, these are natural products derived from isoprene units. So I've shown isoprene over here. In nature, it uses a higher energy intermediate called dimethyl pyrophosphate, and then through a series of enzymatic reactions, whether that be cyclizations, carbocation rearrangements, hydride shifts, they generate natural products that look like these. So some examples are alpha-landrine, beta-pinene, humulene, and beta-caryophyllene. But this list, of course, is not exhaustive. And if it's part terpene, it has to be part of something else, right? And oftentimes, that other part is a natural product coming from the polypeptide biosynthetic pathway. And those are natural products that are derived from acetyl-CoA. And again, through a series of enzymatic reactions, you go through cell alcohol condensations, cyclizations, dehydrations, you can get to aromatic compounds that look like these.
This defense was held hybrid, which means that it was part in person and part online. So pre-COVID days, it would just be all in person. And then during COVID, there were a lot of defenses that were all online. And now post-COVID, we actually have the luxury of doing a mixture of both. So that way people on campus can come and watch my talk. But also I had friends, family members, and old colleagues that were able to watch it over Zoom. I know that I just showed you guys a short clip, and trust me, I really wanted to post the entirety of my thesis because I do have that whole Zoom recording. However, my advisor requested an embargo on my thesis, which means that even though I am submitting it to the BU library, they cannot publish that thesis to the public for at least 2 years because I have a lot of unpublished results in there. And what we don't want to happen is for someone else to come in, see my work in my thesis, repeat all of that work, and then further expand upon that and essentially get a publication with their name on it and then leave us in the dust. After I gave that presentation, everybody was kicked out of the chat and also the room that I was defending in. And then it was just me and my 5 committee members for I think 45 minutes to an hour of questioning. Honestly, it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was just going to be an absolute grilling session. But honestly, a lot of it was more of just a back and forth discussion of like, hey, can you go to this slide? Like, what was the rationale for that reaction? Or like, why didn't you think this worked? Or have you considered trying this? And it was pretty relaxed, so I'm very thankful for that. But after the questioning, what happened was that I get kicked out of the room and then the committee deliberates and sort of decides whether or not I passed. And at this point, it's pretty much a formality. Like, I don't know of anybody who has actually gone through that process, gotten to that point, and then they come back and say like, nice talk, but you don't get it. So thankfully, I went out into the lobby. I was talking with my parents for like 5 or 10 minutes. And then John, my advisor, came out, shook my hand and said, congratulations, Tyler. You got your PhD. After that, I went back to lab and had lunch because my advisor wanted to meet shortly after lunchtime so that way we could go over all the experiment suggestions that my committee just gave me. There were a lot of experiments and a lot of ideas that my advisor had after that talk and sort of just talking with everybody. So definitely a lot to do in the last 3 weeks here, but that's okay. I'm willing to put in that work because freedom is just on the horizon. Once the meeting was done with John, I ended up walking home, and then my parents surprised me in my apartment because they were staying with me. So they sort of decked it out with streamers and balloons and stuff, and they had a little cookie cake and card waiting for me. So super great, and I was very thankful that I was able to share and celebrate with them. And then they had a little video of me coming in the door, so I think I'll include that.
Yay! Congratulations, Dr. Raul.
And then to end the day, we went to dinner at the Capitol Grill restaurant. So that's over by the Prudential Center in Boston, but it is a chain, so they have them everywhere. So likely you guys may have been to one, but honestly, it was a great experience. The food was amazing. The service was great. My mom was being a total mom, and as soon as we got there, it's like, oh, we're celebrating his Ph.D. So at the end of the dinner, the server came out with like a little shortcake. I think it was like a raspberry cheesecake and then a flourless chocolate cake. And on the plate, it said congratulations and chocolate, and that was on the house. So that was very kind of them. But honestly, it was like the perfect dinner and perfect way to wrap up getting my Ph.D. So really thankful for that, and all things considered, it was a great day. The only thing that could have been a little bit better is if the weather was nicer. I think like a day or two before, it was sunny and 70 in Boston. And on the day of my thesis, it was like 50 and dark and rainy and cold and windy. It's kind of crazy. Now that I've finished, I feel like slowly but surely it is starting to hit me. There's been times where I'm working out in the gym or just walking home from the gym or to lab or from lab, you name it. And I just kind of think to myself like, yeah, I am a doctor now. Or like, yeah, I did get my Ph.D. It's just like slowly creeping in. I'm currently filming this on May 7th, so a couple of days after defending my thesis. And if possible, I'd like to get this video out soon, but you may be seeing this a little bit later than I would like, just because there is so much going on right now in such a short amount of time. As I said earlier, John, my advisor, had so many experiment suggestions for me. He also wanted me to add a figure to the end or the beginning of my last chapter, which was my longest chapter. It's like well over 100 pages. And since it's at the beginning, I had to go back and manually renumber everything in that chapter. It's just super annoying. I spent like 5 or 6 hours doing that today, and there's still so much left to be done. So I have to do that. I have to sell some more stuff before I move, and then I have to pack and get ready for the move. So like I said, I'm hoping to get this out somewhat soon, but not totally sure when you will be viewing this. Right now, the plan is to move down to Florida on May 25th. So my stepdad is going to be flying up May 24th. And then we rented a minivan from the Boston Logan Airport, and we'll be driving that down to the Sarasota, Florida airport. So should get there on May 27th, 2-day road trip with him. So that will be fun. But that is going to be my next video. So I'm planning on vlogging the whole packing experience, the moving experience, and then also moving into the Florida home. So all of you have that to look forward to. Honestly, guys, I'm so excited to get down there and leave graduate school in Boston behind. I feel like I'm just walking into my dream life now. I'm going full-time in online personal training and YouTube, so that will be my dream career. I think my parents have like what I would consider a dream home in Florida. They got a pool, an awesome outdoor patio area out back by the pool. They have a grill for meal prep. They have an awesome kitchen for meal prep, sweet living room. They've got the puppy down there, and then the upstairs area is going to be like my own little bachelor pad. There's like a couch and TV area up there, and then also my room is going to be my bedroom, but also my office and YouTube studio. So the only things that I don't have down there would be a wife and then also a guaranteed income, but we can go ahead and find those things. But I'm really looking forward to getting down there, making new friends, getting involved in a church and getting a new community down there. But yeah, there's just so many things on the horizon that I'm looking forward to. Even though there is all that excitement, it is a little sad and a little bittersweet to be leaving this behind, like especially this YouTube studio that I've filmed so many videos in, and then also like the living room used to be my old YouTube studio. So I started that back in COVID. And if you don't believe me, go watch my first couple of videos. I have like a mop of a hair, just miserable because I couldn't go get a haircut, but good times here. I don't think I'll miss Boston in general or necessarily the apartment itself, just because there are a lot of problems with this Boston apartment and the landlords were not so great. But I did live in this bedroom for 5 years of my life, and there's just a lot of sentimental value here that will be sad to leave behind. I will say though, I was down in Florida for Easter and getting my bedroom / office / YouTube studio set up, and I am going to try to do something that looks pretty similar to this. Not sure if we'll have the blue background because I think at one point I do want to frame my PhD and also my master's degree and maybe like put those over here. And I think that would kind of look weird with like a blue reflection. And then hoping and praying that one day I would be able to have that silver play button for like maybe over here, the YouTube subscribers. I think that would be absolutely awesome. So yeah, if you guys could help me out, like, comment, subscribe, share the videos, help me get to that goal one day, that would be greatly appreciated. As I'm filming this, I realize this video might be somewhat long because I feel like there's just so much that I want to say and share about graduate school. So bear with me, but I figured we could start with a timeline. So even though I wasn't filming and vlogging the whole experience of writing a thesis, I thought giving a snapshot of like what the timeline looked like so that maybe if you're writing a thesis, if you're curious what writing a thesis looks like, you can sort of get an idea of how long it takes and how much work actually goes into it. So I did start doing some work on January 3rd. I had COVID during this time and it was kind of a blessing in disguise because when I got back from Colorado, I was in my Boston apartment. I had nothing else to do except work on my thesis, and that just sort of got the ball rolling. And once I started, I did not want to stop. So then you can see once the end of January hit, I think that's when I stopped doing lab work and just really buckled down and started writing. So I finished chapter 1 on February 5th. I finished chapter 2 on February 16th. Finished chapter 3 on March 3rd. And then let's see, March 7th is when I started writing chapter 4. So I wish I would have done that for the first 3 chapters, but didn't think of that until after. But then we didn't end up finishing chapter 4 until March 18th. And again, that was my longest chapter. That thing was a humdinger. I wrapped up the writing process by the end of March, and then I actually had my slides done quite early. I had those done by April 4th, which was 1 month before my thesis. So again, I'm so happy that I started everything so early because all of April, I was pretty much just chilling. Like, I had to go through some edits from John and then some of my proofreaders, and that was pretty much all I had to do for the month of April. Gave a practice talk on April 29th, so that was the Friday before I defended, and then yeah, I defended on May 4th. I also want to share something that I wrote down the moment I finished writing my thesis, so I just had a lot of thoughts and emotions swirling through my head, so I'll just go ahead and read that. But it says, in January, when I started my thesis, I felt like I was staring at a mountain, an unclimbable peak. I didn't know where to start with how much work I knew needed to get done. I remember the semester before telling everyone how much I was not looking forward to writing a thesis. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step, so that's exactly what I did. I took a step, and then another, and another, one step at a time. 4 months later, I'm standing on the summit, and the view has never been greater. I have officially written the entire first draft of my thesis. Wow, God is good. I feel like that perfectly describes my thesis writing process. I just remember being like so worked up about how to start, where to start, like what should I start doing? Like I just felt overwhelmed, but surely one day after another, I took a small step and then a small step. And finally I got to the point where my thesis was done and now I have my PhD. I next wanted to share some tips for writing a thesis, but I think these are broadly applicable to something like a big project. So maybe you're starting a YouTube channel or writing a book or making an online course. I don't know, whatever it is, you can still follow these tips. But the first one that I mentioned a little bit ago is going to be giving yourself more than enough time. So I jokingly told people like the last 2 to 3 weeks before my thesis defense, I felt like that Pablo Escobar meme where he's sitting on the bench kind of just like looking around, like having nothing to do. And honestly, I would much rather have it that way where I'm over prepared, I'm ready to go, than having to do a bunch of cramming last minute, like, oh, I need to make changes to these slides like less than 24 hours before my presentation and all that stuff. So just budget your time accordingly and it will reduce your stress a lot. The next tip would be breaking the big goals down into smaller goals and actionable items that you can take at that moment. So what that looked like for me was saying, okay, I know I need to get this chapter done, but maybe today I'll work on this subsection, and what I can do right now is make the first 3 figures for that subsection. And what that helps you do is just start. You feel like you have something done and then the ball gets rolling. So I sort of like to think about it in terms of like Dave Ramsey's debt snowball, but this is sort of like a goal snowball. So start with something small, get that momentum going, and then carry that momentum forward. And then the last tip that I have is going to be structure your time explicitly. So I remember very early on in my thesis writing process, I came across a YouTube video with Jordan Peterson, and in that he said, honestly, a lot of anxiety comes from unpredictability, and that just punched me in the gut, and I was like, wow, ain't that the truth? Like, we just get anxious when we don't know what to expect. So for me, it was helpful to schedule each and every day and know, okay, at this time, I'm going to be working on my thesis. At this time, I'm going to be eating dinner. At this time, I'm going to RUF. Whatever it might be, I knew exactly what my schedule was going to look like for that day. And I didn't have to have any sort of anxiety around getting stuff done by a deadline because I already knew that I had allotted time chunks to actually work on that goal. I next wanted to share some life lessons learned during graduate school. So I swear that a long time ago, I wrote an Instagram caption titled, "Why bodybuilding is a lot like getting a Ph.D. And I went back and unfortunately could not find that. So I just tried to go off the top of my head. But the first lesson is going to be learning to delay short-term gratification in order to obtain or achieve the big end result. So grad school is a grind, and honestly, you better buckle up if you're going into it because it's not easy. But that does bring me to my next point, which the second one is going to be learning to celebrate the small victories along the way. It's good to have the end goal in mind, but if that's all you're focusing on, grad school or life in general is going to be a pretty miserable time. You have to enjoy the process of becoming, and each day that you encounter those small victories, you have to learn to celebrate those because those are putting you closer and closer to that big goal. The next one is that consistency generates success. So consistency over the long haul, even if it's 80 to 90% consistency, is going to get you that result because you're still showing up each and every day. So I can count on one hand the number of workouts that I missed while in graduate school, and that just so happens to be the number of vacation days that I had in graduate school. Just kidding. Sort of, but that's besides the point. What I want to say is that consistency, even if you're showing up 80 to 90% effort over that long haul and you're still showing up, the consistency is ultimately what is going to get you that result. And then the last one is going to be time management, and that an excess of anything can be dangerous. So I'm very thankful, but early on in my graduate career, I realized that I could spend 20 hours a day in lab and there will still be more things to do. So ultimately, just like it is with anything else in life, you do have to find that balance because too much of that oftentimes can impair your results. If I was spending 20 hours a day in the lab, I'd be getting maximum 4 hours of sleep, which would just impair how productive I'm going to be the next day. It's the same thing with weightlifting, right? If I'm in the gym 6 hours a day and then I go 6 hours the next day, I'm not giving my body enough time to recover, and ultimately I'm not going to let those muscles grow. I think the last two are what ultimately I am most thankful for in my life. So just being consistent, and within that, learning how to be disciplined with myself, but then also how to manage my time, because no matter what I do in life, I know that undoubtedly both of those attributes and character traits are going to help me regardless of what it is I'm doing in the future. I've also been giving some thought, like, okay, what if someone came up to me and asked me, "Tyler, if you had the choice, would you do graduate school at this exact environment all over again?" And honestly, it's tough to come up with an answer to that. Like, it's hard to give a straight yes or no answer. There's a lot of things that I am thankful for. So all of those life lessons that I just shared, I'm thankful that I've learned those. I made a lot of deep friendships here. So both Stephen and Emily, they're like brothers and sisters to me. A lot of great colleagues here as well. But I'd say my time in Boston is really when I transitioned from being a boy into being a man and finding out what I value and who I am as a person, and just like, I'm thankful for all of those things, and I know that having a PhD is undoubtedly going to help me in the future. Like I said, whatever it is I'm doing, having PhD after my name is obviously going to help me and help me be successful in life. But thinking about it, like, it was a huge time commitment. I was working 6 days a week, and that seventh day was not really a rest day. So I'd go to church, I'd grocery shop, I'd meal prep, I'd do laundry, and then pretty much all the other semesters, except this last one, because I was writing my thesis, I had coaching calls. So maybe like 2 to 3 or maybe 4 coaching calls on Sunday nights as well. So that Sunday was still a rest day. And as I jokingly said earlier in this video, did not have a lot of vacation days. So it was a big time commitment. And I think that's sort of what would hold me back from maybe suggesting it for someone else. I guess if I could go back in time and give my younger self some advice, I would suggest potentially choosing a lab that is a little bit less intense and maybe not so focused on working every single Saturday. I think at the beginning, I just told myself, like, this is fine. I'll embrace the suck for 5 years. And at the end of this, I'll have a nice farmer job that pays well over $100,000 a year. And that did not end up being the case, because I'm not going to be taking a farmer job. I'm going to be transitioning careers and going into personal training and YouTube stuff. So had I known that then, like, I'm not sure I would have joined a lab that was so intense, but obviously hindsight is 2020 and I can't change that now. I feel like my time in Boston here, I did get to enjoy some of Boston, but I don't feel like I got to enjoy it to its fullest extent, because doing something as simple as like going and exploring a coffee shop on a Saturday is something that I couldn't do, because every weekend I'd have to get up and I'd go to the gym, and then after that I'd have to go to lab and get my work done. And I didn't really like that, because it was hard to take a Saturday off to do something locally. But the Northeast has a bunch of hiking stuff. Like, I could have gone to New Hampshire or like Acadia. I think that's up in Maine, maybe. I don't know. There's a national park somewhere around here. But my lack of knowledge just shows that I've never been there, because I haven't had the chance to take that time off to even go there in the first place. So I'd say that's not really a regret, but I guess something that I am just a little bit sad about, because these 5 years, I just really haven't had the opportunity to go out and explore and do those kind of things. But that is what I'm looking forward to most in Florida. Like, I've been working so hard for 5 years, and once I get down to Florida, I'm still going to work hard, but since I'll be my own boss, I'm going to allow myself to go out and experience things and enjoy friendships and just go out to dinners and do things like that, because those are things that I haven't really been able to enjoy to the fullest extent for the last 5 years. The very last thing that I want to talk about in this video is what is going to be next. Like, what is the next chapter of my life going to look like? So I already said earlier in this video, on May 25th, I'm moving down to Florida. And I've also alluded to the fact that I am transitioning careers. So I am going to give myself the opportunity to chase my dream and do online personal training and YouTube full time. So if you are looking for an online fitness coach, send me a DM, hit me up on social media. I'd be happy to chat. I'll probably put something down in the description box as well, a little link that you can click on, see what kind of services I offer. But I am going to be pursuing YouTube as well. I think along with that, I'm also going to be creating a Facebook group where I can post some exclusive content, because now I actually have time to create more content and give that to you guys. So I will make a video about that and post that on YouTube announcing that, but be on the lookout for that as well. I'm not sure what the frequency of YouTube uploads will be just yet. So previously I was doing once a week on Fridays, and ideally I would like to get back to that, but unfortunately, YouTube doesn't really make me that much money. I do get a little bit of cash here and there, mostly through affiliate marketing. I'm about to become monetized, so I'll probably get a few extra dollars from YouTube through that, but that is not enough to make a living, at least not yet. So I will be focusing a lot of my energy into growing my online personal training business, and then I'm also going to become a certified personal trainer, just on the off chance that if online stuff doesn't work out, I can go work in a gym. So those will probably be my main two focuses, but I don't plan on taking a break from YouTube, just because I did that for so many months. And honestly, I do really enjoy creating these kind of videos for you guys. So we'll see what that looks like in the future. I think right now what my soft goal will be is posting again in June, and we'll maybe shoot for like one video every other week. But again, we'll see what things look like when they get down there, but you can expect some more content coming soon. Ooh, it's been a while since we've said this, but that's going to be it for today's video, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments down below. And again, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe. Turn those notification bells on, because I post new videos every single Friday, and you do not want to miss when they go live. And with that, I'll see you in the next video.